Alright guys, now this is Digpal and today we'll be studying how to make a database connection using PHP. For this we'll be requiring two files. One is will be our index.php and the next one would be your config.php. I'll just quickly open these files and just let's start doing it. So first what we need to know is that using PHP files require a PHP syntax service, and also what method will be using. It will be a get method or will be a post method. So just echo over here, echo please enter your ID here. We'll be making a simple application in which by taking values from the text file, taking values from the HTML, and we'll be passing it to the database. We'll be fetching some values and we'll be displaying it. That's a simple one, just to make you learn that how we are basically doing the connection of database over here in PHP. So this is a form tag, and inside that obviously we'll be using two input tags. When the input type is text, alright, input type text, and now we'll be using a placeholder. What this placeholder is, I'll tell you if you don't know. Just a file, I'll just write over here, write your ID here, or instead I guess enter the right one, enter your ID here, just cheering it up, and the next would be a name. I'll define the name over here is ID. Alright, just close it. Next is input type is, again it will be submit right now. So submit is basically a button which we are referring to. Name which I'll be giving to it would be submit ID, that would be fine, and value would be, let's take it to be go for it. Alright, so let's go for it. Then next, sorry by mistake, semicolon, and here we go. Now this form tag, which action refers to which page we want to take it. So let's take it to right now let's take it to hash to explain a few bit things. A method, right? So there are two things which we can use. Either we can use a get method or we can use a post method. Fine. So there's been people asking me that what method do we use and what's the difference between the two. So let's see, first taking the get method, that what comes. I'll just go to the web browser. In the URL you can see that I've already entered the URL, say F5, and here it is what we have written over there. Please enter your ID here, enter your ID here, go for it. So let's see if I like the ID as 1 and I say go for it. So in the URL what you can see is ID, which was the name of my text box, equals to 1, which was the value I entered, and ampersand, which is concatenating submit, which submit ID, which is the ID for my button, which and whose value is go for it. So everything is viewed on the URL and anybody can see it, can see the value. So it is generally advised that while using secured website or which deals with data, do not use a get method unless it's very much necessary to use it. And we said why to use a get method when post does it all. And also by using a get method we can make it encrypted using MD5s and make it more complex, the URL. But what I think is there's no need for making the URL so untidy. I mean, if you're using a post method like I have written it now, just refresh it, or I think to make a difference. I enter the URL again, and now I write 1 over here, say go for it. You can see the URL is empty. This is a hash over there because we have used a hash over here which the page is referred to. That's the value 1 which I referred is not here. So this is the difference basically. that now the values have been hidden, but yes, the values will be taken to the referred page to which the action is there. So I just quickly write over here config.php. I just make it a more tidy. So now you know that what is inside what. Fine. So this is my index file. Let's go to config file. Now what is the use of config file? Well, I can write the full code what I'll be writing over here in the index file also, but again, some norms and principles which the PHP coders have developed is that we basically separate the business logic and the business logic and the front end and the database separate. Now the technique which we are working on is MVC. Alright, and earlier it was multiple tiles which was being used. Now the MVC is being used. Let's get back and PHP, right? Some variables which we'll be referring to will be host. I'll tell you that why we are defining it over here. Next would be username of a particular host or a particular host to which database is being established. All right. If there's a username, then it definitely would be a password, using a password. All right. Sorry. Next would be my DB name, because the host may have multiple DBs. And the next would be, in this case I'm referring to a table name, but there's no use as such because a database may contain multiple tables. So the host is basically that computer which has a database. So if I talk about generally PHP is used with MySQL, right? So we can write in my case, since it is on my local machine, and then like localhost, that will do. Or the the professional way to write it is 127.0.0.1, which refers to the IP address to which my host is will be pointing to. So if supposing in the future my host machine has been changed, so I can just change the IP address over here. It will do it all. All right. A username, and now the host will be having a username, right? So in my case, since we are using phpMyAdmin, it has a username, a default username as root, which I kept, and the password is null database. So my phpMyAdmin can have multiple databases, right? In our case, we have taken it inside tutorial database. I'll write over here tutorial. All right, and the table name would be login in this case. Fine. And again, to make it a bit neat and tidy, just tab. Next. Now I'll use a method which will be pointing that only to display things if the method was post. That's how the page has been redirected. That's how we've been redirected to this page. I'll say server. Again, this is a reserved. Alright, this is a reserved keyword or a variable, I can say, which points to the server. That is, from the server through which request method this page has been opened. That will be the correct language, which I said. It will be request method. Alright, so only if the request method was post, do this. Alright, so let's make it a difference. I'll say hello world, or say hello, right? Only hello. Now you can say that I was telling a lie, but I'll just prove it to you. So this is index.php and config.php, and it is written underscore server request method post echo hello. So only if we are referring to this page by a post method, this echo hello will be working. Let's do it as experiment. I just open it directly and right over here config.php and say press enter. So you can see there's nothing over here. Next, if I'll just say go for it, here it is my hello. This is difference. Fine. Next, since we are referring to from the post, I'll just define a variable over here naming id and $_post. Inside that id, I just tell you what does it mean. So if supposing that here my requested method was to be get, alright, I'll be referring here to be as get and here also as get. So it refers like through post method which element HTML element has been referred, alright, and here id means the name of your HTML element, alright. So it directly takes a value. Next, I've taken the id. Let's make some connections. So we say mysql underscore connect, very simple method, alright. Just used to you need to specify first the host, comma, second would be your username, comma, second third would be your password. That's fine. That's the only thing it requires for connecting it. Now as I said that my host may be containing multiple databases, so we need to select a database which is selected by using mysql select db, and obviously we'll be passing in nothing but my database name. For the next step we need to define some query, so I'm taking a variable named query which will be storing my query string. So I'll write over here select asterisk from. Alright, so my table name is tname where space where id is equal to, I'll say id which we have taken it above, and this. Now I just give you a look to what does my table and everything contains of. So this is the database tutorial. It contains a table login, and these are the values. So id 1 2 3 4 5 and name John Digpal Singh. id is auto incremented and therefore it will be the primary key. It would be not null. Name is just name, just nothing, just for the connection basis that I have taken this database. Fine. Now how to execute this query? Another very simple function, mysql query. That's it. And you know that if it's like that, so we need to pass a query inside it. Here it is. So in this case what happens is that since we're using a select statement, so it would be returning a table. Alright, let's forget that it will be, in this particular case it will be referring to a particular row only. But supposing that I have written only select asterisk from table name, so it will be returning multiple rows, so that will be a full table that we can think of. So I just take the return in a variable table, it will be storing it. Fine. Next, what to do? Alright, so just assign. First I'm writing some things and then I'll be explaining you that why we are referring to this. So it is mysql fetch assoc, alright, and inside that we'll be passing the table name, or the table, sorry. Next would be I'll be taking another, say count, alright, mysql num rows, and inside that again I'll be passing the table, sorry, that's it. Fine. So what happens is that mysql fetch assoc will be referring to will be converting actually the table with multiple rows or a single row also into an associative array. How it is useful I'll tell you in a while by writing the query, by making it use over here. Alright, and my count mysql num rows table, in this particular line it will be counting the number of rows and in that particular table. Alright, I use another if statement over here, so it will be nifted if here now. So it will be count. So if my query was right, it should return at least one row if it is being matched by a particular ID back in the database. So it will be greater than 0. Else if it's lesser than else if it is 0, then I want it to do some other work. All right. So if it's greater than 0, I'll say echo um, hello Mr. say Mr. space dot and here. All right, rows. Now here comes the use of fetch sock. Well, now I just need to mention the name of the column to which I want to take value from. So supposing if I'm not using fetch sock, then I have to use fetch array. That's another option, but in that case I need to specify the number. It's 1 2 3. How? Supposing this was my table, so ID would be 1, name would be 2. Then for next row, 2 will be referred to as index number 3 and Digpal would be referred to as index number 4, and so on. That becomes very much confusing, so instead of that we can use directly the name and we can access it. In the long run, how it is useful? Well, supposing if multiple rows I've been fetching multiple rows, I need to write while statement. Inside while statement or any other looping statement, I just need to write rows mysql fetch sock table. All right, so it will be true in every till there are rows, and I can perform any other function inside that by just referring to a particular column which I want to refer to. It's fine. So that's how it's useful. So let's get back to the code. Here it is written, hello Mr. whatsoever your name was. I'll say welcome. All right, just like that. And if it's not, if there is no rows, I say echo sorry bad ID. All right, so that's what I want. Now let's do one thing. Let's find it or debug the errors if there are so. I just let right over here again config.php and press it. So you can see there's no errors. That's what it's displaying. So there are no errors right now. Thank God. Again, right? So let's test my code. F5. I say 1. I say go for it. So here are the errors. It says username, so there's been a typing problem. So for since we are using particular things like here username, here this was the error. So continue. Yeah, here it is. Hello Mr. John, welcome. Now supposing if this error was we debugged this error because it was at one place. Now supposing, let us imagine a condition in which I need to call it again and again in some place. Suppose instead of my username there was problem with my database name or problem with my login name. All right, so I need to call it again and again and again and again wheresoever I am using it. Also, what the thing which we have not used over here was mysql underscore close, which closes my connection since we has opened it. So for being a good programmer, we need to use it. All right, so this was my tutorial for the connectivity for PHP to the database MySQL using PHP MyAdmin and my PHP stuff. Thank you for listening, and I'll get back to you soon with my other tutorial. Thank you.